Oh, hi there. I know I've made videos which would normally be a faux pas, but I've already got one foot in it anyway, so what difference does it make? And besides me talking about this sort of stuff on my YouTube channel, which is probably heavily censored anyway, I mean, there are actual people who have nasty opinions, far, far worse than mine, and actually do have discussions, and they should be someone people should be more concerned with than me. But anyway, I wanted to talk about Justin Trudeau. Um, it is not a mainstream narrative that the minimum wage increase is a bad thing. I've had to explain this a couple of times, and I'm not the only one who knows. So you're going to be on a loss for this one, no matter what. However, the minimum wage increase is actually just a reallocation of resources, um, because there are industries where you can make money, a decent living actually, and there's no risk. It's very, very mellow, very relaxed environment, and you don't have to worry about anything. And there are jobs out there that are high. There's so many things that could go wrong, and people have to do them. Um, except the allocation of resources, as I said, me at $22 an hour can I can afford $10 every other day if I want. But if too many people make 22 bucks an hour, then a lot of people can afford 10 to 1 every day, and then there's a gap as far as supply and demand goes. There's a reason why free range eggs always sell out fast, is because they're like $5, and most people don't eat eggs every day, so they last quite a while and they taste a lot better. And the white ones are just junk anyway, because they're just mass produced. I don't know what they do. I mean, I only worked in the grocery biz for 11 years, so far. Um, However, the thing is, I want to get back to Justin Trudeau's policy and this wage increase and why it's a bad thing. Um, the obvious thing is having more physical dollars in your pocket does not mean you have more money if the money can't buy as much as it did before. So what's the purpose of this? Reallocation of resources. Because you'd be surprised how many people out there, well, actually, you wouldn't be surprised, because odds are you're the type of people that do disguise how much money you make. Because, there are reasons for doing that. Obviously, you got to deal with panhandlers. You just don't want people knowing anything about you and all that kind of stuff. And, there is some sort of a wisdom to that, but that means you're already down the path that you're, habitual liar. And usually that accompanies people that like to suppress information so that people don't know nothing. And when people suppress information and are habitual liars, it's usually because they're fucking you over in some way. And Justin Trudeau has all of those characteristics. Now I'm saying allocation of resources. There are jobs out there that are higher stress, and there's a lot of things going on. And those people want more money because they're seeing the supply and the demand. They're not adding up. I mean, we've had a few years of bad crops with corn for various reasons. There's the drought. There was also just how poorly it was set up. Modern farming is not kept up with how good it should be. Those are two factors. There are other factors as well. Obviously, just resources and money and all that sort of stuff. Um, okay, so there is going to be, less of the good stuff around, like tenderloin, like halibut, and things like that. And there are people who make money who are so greedy that they want to continue to make a lot of money, and their wages are going to go up. My position, my employer is not going to reimburse me for the minimum wage increasing, and as I said, with inflation and everything, my $22 will not be worth as much as it is now in 2021 when that changes here in Vancouver. And it'll be people who are habitual liars, who suppress information. Their wages are going to go up because their unions um, and things like that will cut them a better deal. And um, are those really the sort of people that should be making more money? I mean, they're nasty characters, and I'm sure they can pitch an angry fit, and they know more about things than stumblebums like me. But I think in Canada it should be a relaxed environment. I understand there is need for jobs that are not relaxed, and those people feel that they're owed something, that they're entitled. Um, well, guess what, asshole? I don't think people who are pathological liars, habitual liars, suppressors of information, and actually who probably are assholes, big time assholes, and they want to shaft the people who they consider to be not as intelligent as them because they've not gone to their indoctrination universities and academies and things like that. Um, they figure, well, if they're not going to go through the system, which is all about conditioning, moreover than teaching, um, and just programming people to be a certain way. That's why you can kind of expect when someone has a certain job what kind of a person they are, just because of their environment, and especially if they do it for a long time. Um, so, I mean, a lot of people, they go, well, as a produce clerk, I should know a lot about produce. And I do. But I know a lot about other things as well. And Justin Trudeau's plan is to reallocate the resources to people who actually are kind of like the goblins, chuds, wherever you want to call them, the people who disguise their identities and are just overall cunts. Technically, I'm not supposed to call people cunts, but one, they deserve it, and two, it's just me calling them on a channel that's obviously heavily censored. So why don't you get your panties out of a twist? And this is keeping in mind, how I got rickrolled and all the things that happened to me, and yeah, there's that. You kind of need evidence to be mean to someone if you feel as though that's what they deserve. I don't not understand that. So here we are. Unfortunately, there are people who, they work in industries and it is, it's casual environment and there isn't anything to worry about. And I don't think that those people should be punished so that the resources get reallocated elsewhere. And I also don't like inflation either. Um, and the other problem with that is, it's not just you know, bad bad seasons with drier weather and things like that. It's the fact that the Canadian government, who owns the food industry, yeah, they totally do. Um, they see it as a lucrative business to sell it offshore. Everyone's always on about, oh, why is everything important from China? Important from China. Look at this fish, it's important from China. Look at this pine nuts, it's all from China. That's actually not true at all. We don't trust the Chinese. We never have. Those products originally came from China, but we actually grow them in our sphere of influence. The fact that they're packaged and said to be grown in China is completely inaccurate. Um, but they do. There are Asian countries within our sphere, particularly Korea, South Korea. Um, it's the best Korea, but Korea is nothing to write home about. So, I mean, being the best at something that's not good is, you know, obviously stupid. Like Korea, like, what a rat's nest. Anyway, and Japan and things like that. So, a lot of our resources are going there because A, they want them, they'll pay the money for them, and that leaves our own citizens who, you know, aren't in specialized jobs and things like that. It's basically essentially saying, "Fuck you, you're going to live on less, and you're going to like it." Excuse me. How about no? I'll dismantle your rhetoric in a polite and courteous way, and how about we change public perception and remind everyone who the assholes are. And do not be fooled by what you see in the media, because they're very good at lying. They've been doing it for a long time, but they're not quite good enough. There are people who have sufficient reason and maybe a little bit of bias to say, I don't like you. I can see your rhetoric. Don't agree with it. So fuck off. Uh, and you know, uh, I don't feel particularly, like I'm in the wrong here. Obviously, what I'm suggesting is gonna shaft a bunch of people, but these were the people that were gonna shaft people like me. So if I thwart somebody from shafting me, and they get mad about it, and me thwarting them from shafting me shafts them because they got some sort of fucked up perception of what people like me are supposed to be, then, excuse me, but kindly get the fuck away from me. These kind of people wouldn't tolerate anyone talking to them like that. Not even for a second. Not even a fraction of a second would they tolerate any of that. But that's kind of not how authority and power works. So when you get Justin Trudeau, the mangina going on the television saying, ooh, nice, friendly things, remember, the guy's two-faced. He's handsome on one side, and he's hideous on the other, and he's an asshole on the other. And it doesn't matter if the general public doesn't see that, if they're not intelligent enough to read between the lines in his rhetoric. I keep using that phrase, and it'll be a phrase I'll use quite a bit. Because I really don't like Justin Trudeau. And I know the election coming up, was it next year? Trudeau is probably going to win because everyone's still mad at the Conservatives. And I don't want them to win either because I don't like them either. Although I will point out some things that were actually better under the Harper regime, um, grudgingly. Like I don't want to say nice things about it, but in comparison to what Trudeau's already trying to do and the propaganda apparatus he's built and the kind of person he is, I can't. It's like it's almost like it's causing me a brain cramp to even contemplate saying something nice about Harper. And they got a new guy as for the party leader, Andrew Scheer, um, and he's a funny guy, young guy, too young to be prime minister, really. But essentially, I've said this before. Harper would be pulling the strings. He'd be the puppet master, and it'd be like Harper was president, not president, prime minister, all over again. Um, and after that, there's really no one in contention. So, it's one bag of bullshit compared to another bag of bullshit, really. Except I'm really not in favor of being told I'm an asshole because I don't want the minimum wage to increase when people just don't understand what a minimum wage increase is. Like, I mean, wouldn't you rather be making $10 an hour and you can go to Vancouver Canucks game still if you want to? Or would you rather make $15 an hour and go to, you know, uh, a McDonald's? Like, seriously, people, this isn't rocket science. And I know, um, you know, what Trudeau is doing now may not be too different if the Conservatives were in power, because circumstances change, things happen. There's that factor as well. Well, they would do things differently, most certainly, but they wouldn't inform you exactly what they do differently. And some of the decisions may be in sync with what they were doing. A conservative um, prime ministership may, in fact, be doing something similar along the lines as Justin Trudeau's government. I don't know. And, some people would be very wary of talking about the Prime Minister of Canada on social media platform, especially with their fizzog in the picture. And, be in a situation like I am where ain't nobody talked to me ever. Uh, for years and years and years. And it's just like, why is that exactly? Is it because I'm an asshole? Or is it because you people are the assholes? From my perspective, I think you people are the assholes. I mean, all this could have been sorted out with, I don't know, maybe, uh, that 90s cartoon, The Tick. Like a guy like him coming around and have a talk with me. It could all been sorted out quite easily, but no, 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 no. You have to do all this elaborate shit, and it's just like, what more can I add to that? These people, it's good to have an active mind that works in a certain way, and you can be a constructive thinker. But obviously, there comes to a point where there are so many things happening that it's actually a mental illness. And there are individuals in important high stress jobs that most certainly have mental illness of some kind, whether or another. Most have anger issues. For some reason, that's not looked down upon, but that's partially because that's how people maintain authority. I think being a habitual liar, I think that's a mental disorder. There's no reason to lie all the time, really. Not a good one, anyway. Oh, yeah, so no reason's not accurate. There are reasons, they're just not good reasons. And, you know, as I'm saying, in order for there to be change, which happens whether people participate in it or not. The change always happens because people come up with new ideas and how things should be done better and blah, 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 blah. And, that's how we progress as a society. The problem is when you try to influence change, whether it be positive, negative, neutral, whatever, there's going to be people out there going to go, I really hate this guy. And the fact that he's a nice guy makes me hate him even more. And it's like, I'm not entirely unreasonable. There are, high stress jobs, and those people do deserve a fair shake on things. And there's a lot of people who don't want that kind of a job for life, because it's too stressful. And they can be nasty people too. It's just they're in a dumber job, and maybe it's got more flexibility and things like that, where as jobs with responsibility, there's not as much flexibility there. But as I said, it's yin and yang. Those jobs with responsibility, they turn people into this kind of thing where they're most of the time not very nice people. And obviously, if their voice gets heard over yours and you don't even think to question it, then they're going to win the argument that you didn't even know was happening. And as I said, when things happen, when things change, when there's movement, there are always people who get shafted. It's just the way it is. That's how life works. You can do everything right, and it can still not work. And it's a dang shame, because everyone's circumstances are different. But I don't want my money to be worth less because I have a bit of a bias. I kind of like having my money, and I don't want to see people who weren't particularly kindly to me be just as well off or even better off, because that's the other thing. Like these people's greed knows bounds. So maybe they not only want to maintain their status, financial wise, maybe they want it even better. And the people who they consider not having a high responsibility job, they go, I don't care if he gets shafted. I'm thinking about me, 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 me. And I'm just saying, I'm not a voice for the people or anything like that. I'm a bit of a hemorrhoid on this giant political buttocks. I don't enjoy saying that. I wouldn't, even really think about that kind of thing, because, it should be about the vagina, shouldn't it? And, even the mouth can be all right, but then, there's, ideological beliefs that they're starting to push on those. I'm not going to talk about that. And, it's just, you wake up one day and you go, the world's a bit of a fucked up place, isn't it? And, that will be my piece on the subject. Allocation of resources, you gotta take things into consideration, but I'm sorry, I'm going to be a thorn on the side of people who want to take from other people who they consider inferior to them and benefit themselves. possibly even to a greater extent, probably to a greater extent than they already are. And they already are a little bit better off because their jobs just pay a little bit better. I mean, $22 an hour is not a lot of money, but it's not bad in today's world. I mean, my job, if it were paying $22 an hour right off the bat, there'd be a lineup down the street for it. But I think invention, innovation, I think those are more important factors on determining whether somebody should be worth more money or not. Not because they're programmed to, do their job, which I've already explained what type of people do those type of jobs. And yeah, so this is an interesting little conversation that I really am only having with myself because ain't nobody I know in the physical world will actually, talk back to me. And social media, this is a pile of shit. It's terrible. Wouldn't recommend it for anybody. Anyway, talk to you guys later, and I'm going to tell the truth. So, yeah, this is what the whole video was about, was telling the truth, and that kind of means that, as I was saying, the people trying to shaft me, since I thwarted them from doing that, somehow that means they get shafted, and I'm supposed to feel, I don't know what I'm supposed to feel about that, but I don't want to be shafted, so obviously, don't expect them to like it. I expect them to get very, very unhappy with me. That's okay. You don't have to like me, because I don't like you. Anyway, talk to you guys later. Have a good one.